July 13th, 2018. Hello, dear strangers. My name is Matt Taylor. I live in House 42 in Belleville, and I live with my parents, Adria and Jack Taylor, my little brother, and my dog, Rudolph. Last night was my first night staying alone. My parents and my little brother went to visit my Aunt Georgina, who lives 6 hours away from us, and I decided to stay home instead of going to my aunt's. My aunt has 4 children, and I have no intentions of staying in the same place as 5 kids. Let's be honest, it would be total chaos. My parents left yesterday at 4 p.m. and I was so happy when they did. You see, I don't get to stay home alone very often, and as soon as they left, I hung out with my friend Max. We watched some wrestling and drank a couple of beers. Don't worry, in our country we are old enough to drink. And Max stayed with me until 9 p.m, but then he had to go to his house. He doesn't live that far from here. But after Max left, I decided to take a shower, but I was kind of hungry at the same time. I grabbed a frozen pizza and put it in the oven. And I knew the pizza was going to be ready by the time I was done with my shower. I spent a total of 20 minutes in the shower, got out of it, put on my shorts and walked to the kitchen. But once I got there, I noticed something unusual had happened. The oven was still turned on, but my pizza wasn't there. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, this dumbass forgot to put his pizza in the oven, but no, that's not the case. I remember perfectly that I put my pepperoni pizza in that oven. I was so confused. I tried to figure out what could have happened, and then I came to the realization it might have been Rudolph, my dog. And after all, he's a tall Labrador who could reach the oven if he wanted to, and he has eaten our food before. So I went to see Rudolph, and to my surprise, he was at the same place I saw him before taking my shower. And that took me completely by surprise. I checked his paws because if he had tried to grab the pizza, it was most likely that he had burnt or hurt himself, but he looked okay, and his paws were fine. His mouth was fine, and he didn't seem to have anything weird about him. I also checked the house and couldn't see any crumbles or leftover, and I checked absolutely everywhere, but nothing. I couldn't find that pizza. So I felt a little spooked, to say the least. I even decided to close all the windows that were constantly open due to the heat of the summer. And I tried to brush it off, thinking maybe I'm that stupid I never put a pizza in the oven. And in all honesty, I couldn't even tell. So I decided to eat a quick sandwich. And as I was eating, my parents called me informing they were arriving safely and asking me how I was. I told them about the pizza situation and they laughed at me. My dad was 100% sure it was my stupid brain, and my mom was more than sure Rudolph ate the pizza. But I'm not going to sweat it anymore. I had an excellent day aside from the pizza situation. July 14th, 2018. Once again, I'm writing this as soon as I wake up, and I do this because my mind is fresh and I can remember details much better. Yesterday was rather normal with the exception of one thing. I believe there's someone breaking into my house. Yeah, as you heard. Now, please let me allow to explain what is going on. If you read my previous update, you know about the pizza incident 2 nights ago. And after that happened, I closed all the windows. I didn't even open the windows yesterday during daytime because I was out with my friends most of the day. When I got home, everything looked okay. No signs of anything wrong. My dog had been out with me the whole time as well. We went hiking with Max and some other friends who happened to live nearby. I got home around 9:30 at night and decided to go to my room to watch TV. I already had dinner and was full. and I must have fallen asleep around 10 at night while watching my show. I was having an amazing night of sleep until Rudolph started barking. I tried to ignore him, but he was being just so loud, and sometimes he barks when he senses other animals like rabbits or even insects around. He barked for 2 or 3 minutes, and then he came to me whimpering. And that's when I could tell something was going on. I sat up on my bed as I saw Rudolph come close to me looking scared. It was very weird seeing such behavior. He never, ever looked scared like that before. He could be happy, angry, lazy, surprised, but I've never seen him scared. So I stayed in my room without knowing what to do. If it was someone breaking in, I didn't want to be murdered. They probably thought the house was empty. And what if I ruined things by going there pretending to be a hero? Eventually, after a couple of minutes, Rudolph goes out of the room running, and I decided to follow him, not knowing what to expect. It all seemed in order. The lights were off and everything looked dark. I had been in every room in the house, and no one seemed to be there. And then I noticed Rudolph was standing in front of a window, and once I took a better look, I noticed the window was open. I freaked out and immediately turned on all the lights. I grabbed a knife and I checked the house once again. But it all seemed to be in order. I mean, there was nothing missing. Nothing had been moved. It was just all the same it had ever been. At that point, I thought about calling my parents, and then realized they weren't going to believe me. So I closed all the windows once again, and this time I locked them properly, not just closing them, and I locked all the doors as well. I tried to stay awake the whole night, but around 4:30 in the morning I gave up. I think I'm not going to stay here tonight. I think I'm going to go over to Max's. July 15th, 2018. So last night I did what I said I would do. I didn't sleep at home. And are you worried about Rudolph? Well, I'm glad to tell you there's no reason to, since we both spent the night at Max's. It was fun to spend the night there, but in all honesty, I realize staying there is not going to solve any of my problems. Whatever is going to my house is not going to stop unless I do something about it. The question is, should I wait for my family? I mean, this would be the wisest decision. The problem is, they don't believe me. When I spoke about the pizza situation, they thought it was either the dog or myself, and after telling them about the window, well, they laughed at me. They said I was too old to be making up these kinds of stories, and that I needed to grow up. Everybody sees me as immature and useless, and if you think about it, this opportunity is the perfect one to show them that they're wrong. Now I know I have to do something, and I know I have to do it tonight, because my parents are coming home tomorrow. And I would love for my parents to see that they're wrong, and that there's in fact someone breaking in, but I don't want to expose my little brother to danger. I honestly don't even know what to think anymore. At first, I thought it was an intruder or perhaps a thief, but nothing has gone missing. Well, I mean, apart from my dinner. Max, however, has another theory. He believes it could be someone we know trying to prank me. And this theory is the most reasonable one, because many people knew that I was staying home alone, including many of our friends. And to be quite honest, they are jokers, so it actually does make sense. Max is excited to face the person, but I must admit, I'm starting to get a bit scared. What if it's not a person? What if it's something else? I know how to deal with pranksters. I know how to deal with some random person. I can always call the police if it's a theft. But if it's a ghost, what the hell can I do? Anyway, wish me luck with whatever this is. July 16th, 2018. I didn't have any sleep last night. I'm extremely tired as I'm writing this, and I know the best thing I could do is sleep, but there's no way to sleep after what I saw. So yesterday, Max came to my house. He stayed the night just as I told you it would happen. However, we left Rudolph at Max's with his mother, and Max came here around 8 p.m. We ate something and then we turned off the lights and decided to hide so that the intruder wouldn't see us. Well, we were hiding in the perfect spot, but after a couple of hours of nothing happening, we just got fed up. We had been quiet and literally just standing there for so long, we got sleepy. Max slept in my room while I slept in my parents' room. And we must had fallen asleep at, around 11 or so, and everything seemed okay until about 3 in the morning. I was still sleeping when I felt something on my foot. I couldn't exactly tell what it was, so I decided to ignore it, but less than a minute later, I felt it again. It was a raspy sensation on my feet that somehow felt very wet. I opened my eyes and stared at the ceiling, waiting to see whether I felt it again or not. And a few seconds later, there it was again. I immediately looked to the edge of the bed where my feet were, and I saw something. It had the face of a child, but he didn't have much hair. It was as almost if he was balding. I froze while looking at him. He then gave me a smile while holding my big toe. His smile was giant. His teeth looked green and almost rotten. It was terrifying. And right after his smile, I saw him opening his mouth and rapidly getting closer to my toe. It looked as if he were going to bite it. I moved my leg out of the way and I kicked him in the face. He fell backwards, but he got up immediately and he jumped on me. And I could feel his little feet on my stomach and his toenails scratching my torso. I was holding his hands so that he couldn't hurt me. He was very small, the size of a little child, but he was strong. It was hard to contain him. I decided to scream, asking for Max's help, and he quickly replied to my screams. Once Max came to the room, he seemed as shocked as me. It took him a minute or two to finally make a move. He tried to grab the little man but was having difficulties, and as I said, this little man was super strong. Max grabbed him by the neck, which seemed to upset the little guy because his young-looking face changed to that of a very old man. He was completely wrinkled, and his complexion was rather green, and I screamed my lungs out when I saw this happening. Max, well, he must have noticed that I was terrified because he acted quickly by grabbing the lamp next to my parents' bed, and he hit the little man in the head, causing him to pass out. I quickly stood up and told Max about the face changes, and that's when we came to the conclusion. He wasn't a kid or a dwarf. He was something much darker, much more sinister, and we had to get rid of him. Max and I put the little thing in a suitcase and then decided to lock him up by using some chains around the suitcase. And I know we should have killed him, but we just didn't have the courage to do it. We took Max's car because I don't have a license yet, and we drove for 2 hours until we got to a very deep part of a park forest. If you walk further into the forest, you find a cliff. And down the cliff there's this river that, well, we're not too sure where it goes. Max and I threw the suitcase from the cliff, hoping this way we would get rid of that little creature. And right now it is afternoon time. My parents and my brother will arrive at any time. And ever since Max and I came back from the forest, well, we've been searching for answers online. And I think I know what the creature is. It seems like something similar to a goblin. He appears to young people and children, and his plan is to steal people's youth. And that would explain why he looked like a child, but the reality is that this creature is thousands of years old. Many people speak about different ways to get rid of one. Some seem honest and some sound like just utter bullshit. But I believe Max and I did a good job. Anyway, I can hear the car. I believe it's my family. I'm going to go now. July 17th, 2018. I was foolish to think that this creature would be gone so soon. He appeared once again, and this time, he got what he wanted. Once my family arrived, we spoke for a little bit, but we were all too tired. My parents had been driving for a long time and, well, Max and I hadn't slept the night before. We all went to sleep at around 8 in the evening. And I can't tell you exactly at what time it happened, but I started to hear voices. And I got up to see what was going on. The voices seemed to be coming from my little brother's room. And I quickly went to his room, and then I saw him again. And that little creature, that little thing, that wretched little man, was climbing out of the window. And as he did, he carried something that looked like a sack. And the sack was moving. And the creature gave me a creepy smile again, and as he smiled, his face went from juvenile to wrinkly and gray and scary. He jumped from the window, and he disappeared into the night. I looked around my room and noticed my brother was missing, and that's when it hit me. He was in the sack. I immediately woke up my parents and told them I could not find my little brother. They called the police, and well, they've been searching ever since. I'm afraid we're never going to find my brother, and I wish I could tell my family, but they just think I'm crazy. The only one who knows the truth, and of course believes me because he had witnessed this stuff, is Max. We should have gotten rid of that creature. We should have killed him when we had the chance. But now, well, now it's too late.